Hello and welcome to episode 21 of Nintendo Therapy, a show about the latest Nintendo news and rumors, as well as a celebration of all the things Nintendo. I'm Kevin DeCristofano. With me this week is Sean.
Hey, we can legally enjoy an adult beverage while we play.
21
Oh,
episodes,
I
yep.
see.
And Harrison.
Oh, hey. How's it going, guys? Welcome back.
And yeah, it's been a good week. What have you all been up to in gaming this week?
So, uh, really, all I had time to play was a Spotlight game, but I watched a documentary on Paramount Plus called Console Wars. I don't know if you guys have
Oh
seen
yeah, I've
that.
seen that. And it's
So,
it's based on a book.
okay. So, it's just kind of like about the rise and fall of Sega.
Yeah, they made a lot of nutty decisions towards the end.
So, I thought it was interesting. It didn't answer. I've always had a handful of questions about Sega, and I guess I'm never getting answers. I don't know why they went with a 3-button controller. So I guess that's
Yeah,
just
for the Sega Genesis, that was
yeah.
so weird because like everybody knew the 6-button controller was the better one. I don't know how much it would have cost them to package that instead, but I remember as a Nintendo household, that was always confusing for me growing up. I
Yeah.
was like, "Wait, it doesn't come with the good controller? What are you talking about?"
So I'm never gonna know that. They didn't get into the Game Gear at all, which I thought was weird, just because that seems like it would have been. I mean, I'm sure it was just well, ours is color. It's like yes, it also takes triple the batteries and lasts nowhere near as long. But and then the documentary ended before they got to Dreamcast because I wanted to know like what happened there. I'm guessing, like you said, it was the internal back and forth, which I found fascinating. That like towards the end of their success as a console maker, it was kind of Sega America versus Sega Japan.
From what I understand, the Dreamcast was successful for them, but it was too little too late. They had already lost so much on the Saturn and the debacle at the end of the Genesis with the CD and the 32X. Um, I think that I'm sure there was more to it, but it just wasn't enough to dig them out of the hole they were already in, is part of it.
But the whole time I was watching it was funny because I know the rivalry was a thing, but I just feel like, well, we had Nintendo, so and so had Sega. So
The
for me,
PlayStation 2 is also a lot of what killed the Dreamcast because
yeah,
it came
probably.
out a little later and is still the best-selling console of all time.
So yeah, that was my gaming experience for the week, was watching that. So if you haven't seen it, worth a look. Some interesting stuff. Just like I said, it kind of cuts off before you
Did
really get the end.
uh, this documentary come out recently?
No,
No.
that one's been out for a long time.
About for a long
Yeah.
time. So it ended on Dreamcast because I was just thinking like it would be cool if there was like a part two to that documentary or like
Oh,
take
it
from
was
where.
after the Dreamcast. I don't know why they didn't talk about it,
Yeah,
but
they
Well,
just didn't talk about it.
sure,
yeah.
sure. Well, after the Dreamcast, but I was thinking even like recently, like even this past year, about how a number of their arcades have shut
Oh
down,
yeah.
and
Yeah.
like even their Akibara one, like their very like iconic one, has shut down in the recent years. So um, I find Sega to be a very fascinating company and a company that is still contains a lot of relevance. I mean, I was watching, along with seeing the new Final Fantasy trailer, watching the new Like a Dragon trailer, or the new
Oh yeah, yeah,
Yakuza,
yeah.
the new Yakuza game, Gaiden,
Yeah, I'm
or
glad they were able to transition and stay around into just making games
Yeah.
because it and you still see the love people have for them and for their consoles because like you remember when the around the time of the Super Nintendo Mini, there was like a lot of like everyone was pitching a mini. There was like the PlayStation Mini, which they eventually made and it was terrible. And like they were pitching the Dreamcast Mini and like what games would be on there. And that never came to be. And every now and then, there's rumors that a Dreamcast 2 is coming. And it's like, guys, they're not going to re-enter the console market. It's too much of an investment. They're selling games. They're happy doing that. Stop pressuring them.
I actually would say out of the mini retro consoles, the mini Sega Genesis is the best one. So they did beat Nintendo
Yeah,
at their own game with that.
absolutely. Yeah,
Mhm.
for sure. That's a good point because that's them. That's Sega too. I didn't even think of that.
Yeah.
But they're all just there to be modded, really, and have a million games thrown on them. I've been playing Mario Odyssey this week out of nowhere, and I have to say,
you're jumping around Mario's, huh?
well, no, I'm still playing. I'm still playing Mario and Luigi as well, but that's like, I don't know. I have to be in like. Sometimes I'm in the mood for a platformer, so that's what's filling that need right now. And I don't know what it is, but I feel like this time through, I'm like appreciating it so much more. Do you ever
Oh yeah.
have a game where you're like the first time through you thought it was okay, but like for some reason randomly years down the line you're like, oh my god, it's hitting me now.
Oh yeah. Yep. That's a great thing when it happens.
I don't know why, but it is. Maybe the Mario movie might have contributed to it.
It could have.
We'll never know. All I know is I'm super into it right now, and I'm gonna try. I mean, not, I don't know how long it's gonna take me, but I'm gonna try to get all the moons. I know there's like 800 of them, but
I
I'm gonna
think there's
try.
more than that.
I
Could
mean,
be
I have
wrong.
100 and I only started playing it this week and I have 120 already. And I know my progress is going to slow down because they're literally like, every 3 feet you trip over a moon at
Yeah.
first. But, um,
Well, they
but
get
yeah,
really skill based, I think, as you go further.
but there's like, if I can get all the shines in Mario Sunshine, I feel like I should be able to do it because some of those are like the not the pachinko machine because that one is hard, but there's also the one where you got to go down that river and get the red coins in Mario Sunshine, and it's like almost impossible. I got that one. um a lot of the ones where you have to do the thing where you don't have the flood and you have to go through and it's like in like an empty void and you fall to your death. I got all of those.
Mm-hmm.
um so yeah, I think I could do it. We'll see. If not, I had fun trying.
You can. I mean, if you can get 900 Koroks, um,
Yeah, exactly. I did
then
that.
then you can do this.
I mean, I'm not
Uh,
going to try to find them all without a guide. That would be crazy. But I'll find as many as I can and then look it up.
right, right. I've been playing a little bit more Tears of the Kingdom. I actually played it on my flight this past week, so that was cool.
Nice.
I like usually typically Breath of the Wild has been my go to game to play on a flight because I know how long it is, or like if I have a 2 hour flight, I can play through like the intro or something, kind of like a movie or whatever. So play more of that. Still don't know my timeline because I feel like I'm not making real progress in the game. Like even though I'm hopping on a little bit every week. And nothing too new. Yeah, no real new games or anything outside of that. Played the Spotlight game a bit. Actually, you made me think of something, Kevin. Is there any games that you guys play like in the summertime? Like, because this is our Spotlight game this week seemed like a good like Halloween game or something like that.
I
Um,
don't remember if I told this story on this podcast or our other one, but I have a strong like 4th of July connection to A Link to the Past. Um and
Really?
I tend to crack that out every summer. Yeah, I think I told you this story. Like I don't know why, but I have a very vivid memory of one 4th of July being at my grandparents' house, and they have like a lake house, and like where the TV is has like windows that oversee like the lake. And I remember there was a 4th of July where I was sitting inside. playing A Link to the Past while the fireworks were going off at night, and like I could see those, and I was playing the game, and it's just like a very vivid memory in my mind, and I think that's part of why it feels like a summer game to me.
Yeah, I don't have like seasonal games I play like you kind of do, Kevin, because you
Yeah, I
play
definitely
like
do.
spooky stuff in October and whatever.
Yeah, I'm trying to think of any other summer games. What else feels like summer? I have like, speaking of Mario Sunshine, I have like this thing where when they re-released it on Switch in that collection, I took it on my trip to Jamaica with me, and like I like to play a game when I'm on vacation, and then I end up having like strong memories of the vacation with that game.
Oh
So
yeah, yeah,
now
that's your
playing,
thing
yeah,
too.
now playing that game really reminds me of my trip to Jamaica, and it's cool because like they're both like a tropical environment. Um, so that's one for like hot weather. And Mario Odyssey has some cool summer outfits for Mario. There, he's got the swimsuit and like the little floaties and things.
That's
Yeah.
not the worlds you like though. You like the snow.
Yeah, I love snow worlds, and I love underwater worlds as well, which is why I keep wanting them to do more Zelda underwater stuff, because I like, what was it? Twilight Princess had some great underwater areas, and I don't know, they haven't done a lot. Like, you'd think Wind Waker would have had more of them, but they didn't. And I know it was like one of those things they toyed with for a little bit and decided not to do for some reason. But yeah,
I don't
if you
remember
if you look in
Twilight
the
Princess having underwater.
yeah, the Zora area, it's all underwater.
Yeah, that was like 2006,
They
man.
even had special bombs for you to use underwater. They were underwater bombs. So yeah, there were a few underwater segments there. One thing people might not know about Wind Waker is, this is in the Zelda art book that they put out all those years ago. Um, One of the original ideas for the game was there would be underwater sections, and they I guess they would each be like, it wouldn't be an open world, it would be like they would each be in their own little contained area, and
Mm-hmm.
to go back up to the surface there would be like fish hooks that you would like tug on, and it would like take you back up to the surface.
That's a cool idea, actually.
Hmm. But they only ended up really doing the castle underwater. Well, what how about you, Harrison? You asked the question, you must have some.
Oh, as far as games go in the summer, actually not so much. Like in the summertime, I have a lot of memories of playing like Animal Crossing, because that's a very seasonal game. Like you play within your own season if you choose to play that way.
Yep.
Um, like back home. I mean, back home we played so much like MLB and NHL over the summer. And there was one more I just thought of. And I'll come back. It'll come back to me later. But actually, it's like you were talking about, taking trips and playing games. I mean, I do the same thing. And it's funny how the media association is, because for me, when I think summer, I think a lot more about like the music I listen to. Um, like I listen to certain kinds of music when it's the summertime, more or
Okay.
less. So games, I'm not so sure. I know I asked the question, but I think it's also like the like in summertime, like I'm turning on Sublime, I'm turning on like 311, or I'm turning on like Snoop Dogg, or like there's just a lot of like music that's like, okay, now it's summertime, hanging out outside or something like that.
Oh, I
Um,
totally get that, because I tend to listen to albums in the season that I got them. Like whenever I got into that album, it's instantly associated to that season. Like Death Cab for Cutie has a strong winter association with me, because Transatlanticism came out that Christmas, and I got it. I didn't even know who they were, and a friend of mine gave it to me as a Christmas present, and it is so weird, like giving someone a Christmas present a CD of a band that they don't even know. And they were like, "I thought you'd like this," and turns out I did. I became a huge fan. They knew me.
Yeah, yeah.
Shout out to Chris Murphy.
Yeah, I associate like the times that I first listened to it, and perhaps the places that I was in. So I think about like I'll hear numbers of things. I'll think about like where I was traveling at the time, or where it was when I got the album, or when it came out, or what I was doing. So I actually remembered one from yesterday. I was at my gym yesterday, and the foreign man that owns it, he's a bit older. He always plays like older satellite radio. So ACDC came on the radio yesterday, and immediately I was thinking of Pro Skater 4 again, which is also a summertime game for me, or just Pro Skater in general. Um,
That is a good summer game. That's a good pick.
because
You know what? I like this. How about next week we could plan ahead here and everyone bring like your three favorite summer levels in a video game. Like an area in a level,
Ooh.
or an area in a game, or a level in a game that you consider, this is summery. Like I guess Delfino Plaza would be an example, like from Mario Sunshine.
I like this as
I like
well.
it.
I like it as well because we are recording a podcast and doing production meeting for the next podcast. So we're just double dipping, saving time, and guys
Yeah.
and listeners, you can tell us, what's your favorite summertime game?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Send us some summertime games. NintendoTherapyPod@gmail.com, or we're on Twitter at Nintendo Therapy.
Comment below.
And I believe we're on Reddit unless we took place in the blackout.
No, we did not take place in the blackout.
Sorry about that, guys. Sorry about that.
I didn't even understand the blackout.
I was trying to do research for this podcast, and I was like, wow, I use Reddit a lot. Actually, apparently, because I was trying. I had to type in cache colon Reddit link like so many times to get ready for this podcast. Um, yeah.
So on to news items. I have one news and one rumor for this week. The news is Retro Studios are continuing to hire for the development of Metroid Prime 4. Or at least that's what we're assuming they're hiring for. Today, as of recording, so 2 days ago, if you're listening to this when it came out, the company has 9 roles unfulfilled on their Nintendo careers page, with all of them stating at the bottom of the blurb that Retro Studios is currently in the midst of developing Metroid Prime 4 for the Nintendo Switch. So I guess that's still, at least officially, coming to the Switch and not the next Nintendo system.
Yeah, that sounds about right.
Could be the last
that
game.
sounds official.
Is it official?
Yeah, I mean, they could change the listing, couldn't they?
Yeah,
Yeah.
and I mean, I don't know what goes into video game development, but it seems like if you're doing it for a job posting, you'd put some kind of feeler in there that you're looking for like experience with like I remember the Pokemon company, it was big news when I guess they had a listing that was requiring people with experience with Unreal Engine or something like that,
Mm-hmm.
and people were like, "Oh, maybe they're making a more complicated Pokemon game."
Yep.
That was like 6 or 7 months ago. I feel like it was a while ago, but yeah. Anyway, I'm saying like if they were developing Metroid Prime 4 for the next Nintendo system, you might see something like in the job posting about it. But I mean, this seems to indicate, and maybe they're just doing it because they know the internet's going to discover it.
Well,
seems to indicate that.
that's what I thought. It's like we're talking about it right now. It's like,
Yeah, that's true.
and I don't know. I debate with myself all the time about what gets put out and what is intentional or not, you know. But
Yeah.
but sure, like I think it's totally reasonable that they are constantly hiring people for the development of this game. Um,
I
because
mean, the good news is that they're still working on it. Like, it's like
Right.
not, it hasn't been abandoned because we haven't heard anything as far as like Nintendo announcing anything. So this is the news we get, is them hiring like a job posting.
that drop is going to be crazy. Like it's like that trailer is going to come one day, and it's going to be the next biggest talked about Nintendo game next to Zelda, because they're just we've been waiting so long now.
Yeah,
I
it's like
mean,
Metroid. It's like Metroid Dread in its development cycle. Like, it's the new Metroid Dread.
yeah, yeah. So
Because that Metroid Dread was announced like 6 or 7 years before that came out, I think. And then it just kept getting like hinted at, and like there was like, like it was, people saw it like in a official list of games in development and stuff, and didn't know anything until it just launched one day.
I just don't know. I feel like it doesn't point us any more towards knowing much of anything. I just don't know. Like, or maybe this game comes out on two systems. You know, I just like maybe it's a launch title on the next system as well, because I think about timelines. I think about like, does Nintendo care about the legacy of like having a game of the year or something? Because like
Absolutely not.
th-
No.
they don't. Okay, because like I'm
It's
thinking,
like they're playing their own. I feel like Nintendo considers themselves their own industry. Like, they're not in the video game industry. They're the Nintendo industry.
fair enough.
Yeah.
Fair enough. But I just wonder sometimes, because I don't want to project too much of how I feel about that company, you know? Because I like, if Metroid Prime comes out next year, 2024, it's going to be one of the biggest games of the year alongside lots of other games. And perhaps it doesn't matter. And yeah, maybe it doesn't. But um I think this new system has to be coming sometime soon.
I agree.
Yeah, that's all. I digress. Speaking,
And looking
yeah,
even further forward
Mhm.
than 2024, we can talk about this rumor I found, which I thought was worth mentioning. It's, not, it's as connected to Nintendo as you kind of want it to
Right.
be. but
I agree.
but the Final Fantasy X remake is rumored to be in the works. Not like an HD treatment like they already did, but like a Final Fantasy VII Rebirth level remake. So put that in there with the rumored Final Fantasy IX remake, and we got some Final Fantasy rumors. It says in the thing I read, a Final Fantasy insider on Reset Era says that they are also remaking Final Fantasy X, and the intention is to release it to coincide with 10's 25th anniversary in 2026. Just yesterday, we heard from Gamatsu that the company is working on a remake of Final Fantasy IX, but neither game has been confirmed by Square Enix yet. I honestly, 9 is my favorite. I don't care if they remake it or not. Like, especially if they're going to do it like Final Fantasy VII, where it's a completely different game anyway. Um, I don't know. I'm not happy with the Final Fantasy VII changes they've been making. Like, we don't need Zack. Zack wasn't a character, okay? He was in an optional cutscene. That's my rant about the Final Fantasy VII remake. Like, yeah, it's a good game. I like it. I buy it. I play it. But I don't like that they're completely changing the story, because there's a whole generation out there who haven't played the original and don't know the story you're referencing in a meta way. And yeah, I'm sick of Zack. This podcast does not support Zach.
This is not a rant that I thought we'd be going on for this. Okay. I
I don't know. I saw this. I saw the words Final Fantasy VII Rebirth in my notes for this rumor, and it just sent me off. I'm like, because they put out that new trailer, and it seems like Zack is such a focus of the story now, and he's got his own little alternate
so
universe. And I'm just like, no, Zack, you were an optional cutscene. You weren't even really in the game. Like, you were mentioned casually. You're not part of like a few years ago, the official the official Final Fantasy Twitter did like an anniversary post, and the three people that were like in the post were Cloud, Sephiroth, and Zack that they used for the images, and it was like happy. It was like 20th anniversary, 25th anniversary. I don't know for Final Fantasy VII, and probably the 25th anniversary. And yeah, I remember that. And it's like, I was like, why is Zack there? He's not part of this.
uh
Could have put Ares, could have put Tifa or Aerith.
so I haven't talked to you that much. Did you watch the Rebirth trailer?
I was gonna stay away from it because I know I'm gonna play it anyway, but I have seen clips now just in like my internet scrolling show up. I'm not like, I haven't sat down and like press play on the trailer, but I've seen stuff from it.
Because
And
yeah, because I watched it. I told you, and of course, this is not one of my franchises, and I just basically was really amazed by like the depth and like the size of it, and apparently,
well, that's why I kind of have to like separate these complaints, because I'm like, I'm sure it's going to be a fantastic game. However, I wish they would just remake Final Fantasy VII.
and I feel a certain way about physical games now, and this game is going to be on 2 discs, and I was like, what? I was like, how does that work? I was like, it's like the Titanic movie, like um
That's interesting because if you go back to the announcement of the first game, that one was supposed to be on 2 discs. Like I remember, and I was like, why isn't anybody remembering that when it was actually released?
uh,
Because if you go back to that first one, yeah, that one was supposed to be on 2 discs as well, and it didn't end up happening that way.
yeah. So I'm interested in seeing what the actual size of this game is going to be. Is it going to be above like 100 gigs, or like how much of it is going to be internal? Because I just never know with some of these games. Sometimes you buy a physical copy, and then you have to end up downloading however much more. Um, are you surprised that because they announced it's going to release early next year? Are you surprised there's no hard release date on a game that is? I mean, 2024 is 6 months away.
I think they're learning their lessons from the last one, maybe, if I had to guess, because you remember that one was delayed like 15 times. And I think one of those delays was like 2 weeks before release. It got pushed back another 2 weeks. Like, so maybe they're learning from the last 7 remake.
And people are just distracted by like Final Fantasy 16 and this rumor and that rumor. And I mean, again, I don't play this franchise, and I'm like, what's going on? Um, there's just games coming out, trailers, rumors, um, but everything's coming up big. I mean, Rebirth could possibly be a game of the year nomination next year as well. So
I wonder if they're going to try to distance it from 16 as much as they can too. Even though I guess it already would have been, but I don't know if that's in their considerations at all.
I mean, in the timeline, it's pretty distant, right? It's,
Good.
it's like 16 minus 7. I don't know.
Oh, I see what you're saying. There's no timeline. Um, okay, so that brings us to this little exercise that I pitched to you guys. Unless anybody else had any news or rumors.
No. Nope.
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 All right. Sean, you still there?
Yeah, I just let you guys go on your tangent because
Oh, okay. All right. So I thought this would be a fun activity. So I had this idea when I was playing games the other day where I was playing a game, and you're going to hear which one soon. And I was like, man, this kind of feels like a Nintendo franchise, even though it was on my PlayStation 5. And I thought it'd be fun for us to all pitch a game from the competition that you think feels like a Nintendo franchise, a Nintendo franchise that you think feels more like it belongs on the competition. And then Harrison threw this in there as a joke, but I think might as well do it anyway. Name a Nintendo franchise you think they could just lose altogether.
Something spicy.
So, yeah.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I'll go first if that's okay with you guys, because
Oh, yeah,
I've been
go for it.
obviously antsy to talk about this. The game I was playing, and honestly, probably not even my strongest answer for this. My strongest answer, I hope none of you have it, but I'm going to say, I think Mega Man feels like it belongs as a Nintendo franchise, but that's not what I picked. What I was playing at the time was Ratchet and Clank, the new Rift in Time on PlayStation 5.
okay.
And to me, it really feels like a Nintendo franchise. It feels like if Jet Force Gemini and Banjo Kazooie mixed together. And I know those are both rare games, but they're rare games from the Nintendo 64 era when Rare basically was Nintendo. Um, and it totally has the feel, like the Ratchet and Clank whole series has that feel of like if Jet Force Gemini was allowed to continue where it would have gone, I think. So I think Nintendo should draft Ratchet and Clank over at some point. I feel like Nintendo could make an amazing Ratchet and Clank collectathon third person shooter. And they don't have a lot of shooters. So be a good cap to put in their feather, a good feather to put in their cap. Because yeah, I feel like they're hurting for something like that. The thing that they have that they consider a shooter is the game that I would trade over is Nintendo's Splatoon franchise. To me, feels like it belongs as a Sega property. There's something very Sega
all right.
feeling about Splatoon to me. I can't quite put my finger on it. Maybe it's because of like Jet Set Radio on Dreamcast was kind of similar, where you were spray painting all over the place. That was that game, right?
Yeah. Yep.
Yeah, they had a lot of those arcade style like games like that. So I think Splatoon's the one I'm picking for what feels like it should be a Sega game. Toyed with going Xenoblade to PlayStation, but that's my pick. Splatoon feels like a Sega game. And the Nintendo franchise, I say they could comfortably lose. Even though he has a bazillion games, I'm sorry, my little pink buddy. I think we could lose Kirby because Yoshi kind of makes him a little redundant. They have two characters that kind of target a child audience that both eat things and like they both have the Woolly World games, or Kirby had Epic Yarn, Yoshi had Epic Yarn. I don't
So
know, they
you
feel
want
very
to
similar to me.
you want to eliminate half the Switch's catalog?
Right. Right.
Well, you could just turn them into Yoshi games, is my argument. Like
So
every
they'd be
Kirby game
boring.
could have been a Yoshi game.
And we can't eliminate Yoshi because he's a
Yeah,
No.
because he's
yeah,
adorable.
Kinda
yeah,
need
of
him,
course. And I always associate Kirby with Jigglypuff, probably because of Smash Brothers.
That too.
Because
Yep.
of Smash Brothers. Two characters.
It would be heartbreaking to lose King DDD because everyone loves saying King DDD, but got to do what you got to do. So those are my answers. Don't know how you feel about them, but I'm throwing them out there.
I have no rebuttal. Yeah, but I feel like the franchise I'd lose could be the spicy one, depending on how passionate you feel. But Sean,
Yeah, no one's fighting for Kirby, so I guess we'll hear that.
Yeah.
What's the spicy?
yeah. Well, I'll go. I think I'll go last. Sean, how about you go?
Okay.
So as far as somebody else's franchise, Sly Cooper feels like a Nintendo
Mm.
property to me.
Oh yeah, definitely. I can't remember which came out first, but it's got the same cell shading that Wind Waker. I think Wind Waker came out first, but still, it's still got the same cell shading style.
Because I don't think Nintendo has a platforming burglary like game. And I don't know. It'd just be
I think they
interesting to
could
see
make
what
those
they would.
games better too, because
Yeah,
I downloaded the trilogy on my PlayStation and I only ever finished the first game. I got kind of bored with it. I liked it, but not enough to continue.
yeah. I feel like Nintendo could probably play with it more, give you all sorts of crazy abilities and stuff.
They had that on the TV when I worked at KB Toys for like a year. There's a toy
Oh,
store to take you back.
Mhm.
All right, so Sly Cooper came out September 23rd, 02. Let me check Wind Waker. They were both 02, I think. No, it might have beat Wind Waker. Wind Waker was December 13th, 2002 in Japan.
okay.
Yeah, so it was before Wind Waker doing the cell shading. I mean, they were basically in development at the same time. It's September and December. They came out months apart, but yeah. So what game did you say felt like the competition?
I feel like Metroid Prime feels like a Capcom game to an extent.
I could see that.
I don't know, just the overall feel of it and the approach. I don't know, it just feels very non-Nintendo to me. Like it's got a lot of environmental storytelling and stuff that I feel like Capcom really does well.
Yeah, it's and the fact that it's first person makes you very easily forget it's a Metroid game.
Yeah, it's got monsters and stuff. I don't know. It just fits that mold for me.
Does it feel like Monster Hunter to you because it has monsters?
No, no, no.
No.
I mean, if I it'd be more Resident Evil, I guess, if you had to pick a Capcom series. But so that's my
Resident
feels like the
Evil.
competition, and then uh, I'd get rid of Animal Crossing
Boo.
All right. Why?
because I don't understand it.
Yeah.
You know, it's so funny that you say that because it, um in my interneting this week, I can't talk. One of the things I was looking at this week was because I have my Switch and my PlayStation in different rooms. Um I was thinking I was in the mood for Animal Crossing and I was looking up lists of PlayStation games that have the feel of Animal Crossing. Like I was trying to play an Animal Crossing on my PlayStation. Basically, I like it so much, and I'm thinking I might end up getting, even though I kept saying that I felt like I missed the boat. I think I might end up getting the new Animal Crossing. I don't think I want to wait for the next one, but gonna have to finish the games I'm playing now before that happens. But I would not want to lose Animal Crossing. I'll fight you on that. That's spicy, as Harrison was saying.
Yeah, but I do understand if it's just not your style of game or if it's a style of game that you just don't connect with or don't get. No, I don't have any rebuttal on it besides that
Wow.
it's my favorite franchise, and also that it's unlike other Nintendo franchises. So that's the only other feeling I have, unless you feel like, oh, the Switch has a million farming sims, then I guess you would be right there. You
No,
would,
no. I would,
yeah.
Animal Crossing, I guess, would be a life sim.
Okay, sure, sure.
My life doesn't look like that.
I you right, but
No, you're probably right,
but
but
it is a life sim, which is one of the many reasons why it caught on in 2020. You know,
Right.
and it's one of the many reasons why
because people didn't have life.
it's one of the many reasons why I enjoyed the game as a kid, having the real life clock and having an environment where there was no like war or cancer or anything like that. So it is a type of life sim, that is for sure.
If anyone's curious, the game I found that seemed most like Animal Crossing for PlayStation is a game called Castaway Paradise. Don't know if any
Not
of you have played it.
Never heard of
not
it.
It's a $14 indie game, $15 indie game, and it is absolutely just what Stardew Valley is to Harvest Moon. Castaway Paradise is to Animal Crossing. It's just somebody making a fan-made Animal Crossing game.
I I actually have a good game to transition from here, Zen. So I guess I'll go next then. um,
Okay.
so game that feels like Nintendo. Now I'm going to cheat a little bit here because there is Nintendo Association, and shout out to Arlo for this one because he made me pick up this game. Viva Pinata does not feel like an Xbox game, in my opinion. Um,
No, I agree.
and Viva Pinata would be a perfect port to the Switch library. I think this is not a franchise that I really knew about because I didn't have a 360 like growing up. But I picked it up on the Xbox eShop for like $5 after Arlo made his video on it, and it's so goofy. And at the time, I was playing game.
Which one? There's 4 games in the franchise.
Um, I play I played the original one. Now the association is that there was a DS game. They did have a Viva Pinata on the DS, but still, um, in my opinion, this does not feel like Xbox. And you collect pinatas, and then you breed them by playing these silly games, and they're also of the same family. So you're breeding them together, and then you hit them, and you make money from hitting them. And in the past year, there were games like Bug Snacks that came out that were like really goofy that ended up doing really well on the Switch and other systems. Like, oh, they're these creatures that are half bugs and half snacks. So, in my opinion, it's a goofy game that feels more like a Nintendo game. Um, Also, I want to.
It is made by Rare, who used to be, the like I said in mine, like they were Nintendo during the Nintendo 64 era. So it's good to see that Rare is still doing stuff.
Right, and I think there has. I don't know if there's been a resurgence or there was a cult following that I didn't know about, but it seems like a lot of people would like to see either a port or a new game. And I say port it because they did an upscaled version that I played on my Xbox that I thought was pretty good and probably relatively cheap to make for them. Uh,
I'm looking at trivia for the series here, and this sentence made me laugh. It says, Rare had attempted to make Trouble in Paradise's camera features work with Pocket Paradise, but chose instead to release the games on time. Like they're kind of throwing shade at them for releasing a game on time.
so yeah, they had a game on DS. A game that I played ported on Switch. I've always felt like Anodyne, that the this indie game.
Oh,
Um,
yeah, I've played that.
uh, it feels very much like a Zelda clone, Zelda top down inspired indie game. And I'm sure we could do a whole podcast on Zelda inspired indie games, but this one in particular felt a lot like when I was playing it, I was trying to figure out, is it more Link to the Past or is it more Link's Awakening? And it's has its own quirks. It's very dark, and I think it fits as a port, especially. I think it started out as a mobile game. Um, the port of it is great, and the last one I'll include real quick. Cuphead to me feels like a Nintendo game because of the overall quality of it. It feels like, I've talked about how I kind of relate Nintendo quality to Disney, and Cuphead to me
Hmm.
felt very much like a Disney inspired game. The development of it was pretty amazing, that whole story, and an amazing port for the Switch. Just an overall amazing indie game. Feels like
Yeah,
Nintendo.
that's one I'm proud of that I've actually beaten.
Oh my god. Well, have you beat it? Have you beat it on the hyper mode, or is it
No, no, I beat the normal game and I beat the DLC, but
right?
I have not the patience to do crazy mode.
Right, because I didn't know there was a crazy mode until I beat the game, and I was like, I think I'm good. Like I think I'm.
Yeah, yeah.
Uh, but yeah.
And what are you trashing?
Okay, so wait, game that feels like competition. I
Oh
couldn't
yeah, I forgot. Yeah.
think of a really good one. Nintendo Switch Sports feels more like Rocket League in some ways. So I'm not sure um, what they were inspired with their online play or other games when they came out with Nintendo Switch Sports. As someone who was a big fan of the Wii Sports games, this one feels a little bit different. And I'll kind of digress a little bit because it's the same with Mario Strikers and other Switch Sports games. I've gone on a lot about how they don't really feel like they fit these new Nintendo sports games. That's all. And Nintendo franchise, I would lose. I don't know if this is going to be controversial because I can't remember when we've talked about this franchise. I would get rid of Golden Sun. Um,
So Golden Sun is a franchise that I have some familiarity with, and I've actually been. They kind of teased that it was going to be coming to Switch Online, and I'm really looking forward to that because what happened was, I owned it on Game Boy Advance, and I never finished it, and I somehow lost my copy, and then it became one of those games that was expensive to buy, so I couldn't rebuy it, and I tried getting a ROM, and this is like a notorious thing. It's since been fixed, but I don't have the time for it right now. But um, for a while, the only ROM you could get of the game was in German. So that did me no good. And yeah, it's been this game that, like, for a long time I've been like, I want to finish the game, but it's just not available to me. And like I said, finally now they have an English ROM, but I just haven't gotten around to it because they said it's coming to Switch Online. So I'm like, well, I'll just wait for that.
right.
So
So
eagerly awaiting it.
what
But
is it about Golden Sun that makes you want to just kind of forget about it?
Well, so it's not one that I played too much that I'm familiar with. I have some questions about this series that I'll just go through real quick. First, like, do we trust Camelot to make another quality Golden Sun game? The timeline of the series seems strange looking back on it. Like they had the first two games came out within 2 years of each other, and then the next one comes out in 2010, and then that's it. Um, and I wasn't sure if I wanted to pick this one because looking through the reviews, even of the DS game, they all have like 80-90% reviews. So I know that there's a big
that's why
following,
I want to
a
play
big
it.
following, and my only and then my last one is just like when I was thinking about games that Nintendo franchises that might be good that I could that if I eliminated what I think about too much, and when I think of, for me, when I think about the RPG, JRPG space, I think about like, are you playing Golden Sun over Xenoblade, over Fire Emblem, uh, Octopath, Dragon Quest, uh, Pokemon, Mario RPG? Are you playing it over Final Fantasy or Persona or Nino Kuni or Yakuza or you know other games like this? So I guess I'm just overwhelmed in this space. I think.
Yeah, the Nintendo Switch especially became like a dumping ground for re-releases of JRPGs. Like, uh, you know, you've got like pretty much every must-play JRPG from the PlayStation era getting re-released on the Switch.
Yeah, but if if they came out with a new game, would it sell well? I think it would sell very well. Sean, did you play Golden Sun?
No, I never got around to it, so that's why I'm waiting for it to get on the service.
Yeah, because it seems like I mean, the first Golden Sun is a Metacritic like must play. So
Yep.
uh, I understand that I mean it's one of the highest rated Game Boy Advance games just period.
And I think part of that is the hype of the fact that it was unavailable, you know what I
Yeah.
mean, for so long. So I think that helps build a game's reputation. Can't wait till it's a spotlight game and we can see if it lives up to said
Yeah.
reputation.
But guys, we named three Nintendo franchises that I think are all like that we would lose that I think all have their own space and that are all very good in their own ways. So I don't know if that says something about our list or just the quality of Nintendo franchises that stick around. I mean, because we could have chosen I'm surprised no one said Ice Climbers during this segment.
Well, that's not like they're
They
basically
got
dead.
a
They had one
game,
game.
and then
Yeah,
it's
they-
like,
Exactly.
we need people for Smash Brothers.
Exactly.
Ice Climbers.
Exactly. Exactly. But I wasn't sure if we were going to get to like the single entry. This game wasn't so good.
Well, that's a good time to transition on over to the spotlight game. So, speaking of the Switch Online service, this week we played the Super Nintendo game Demon's Crest, which is a game that I've always seen on lists of like underrated gems. So, I was excited to get over to it. Came out October 21st, 1994 in Japan. And then the next month it came out here, November 1st, not even the next month, it's like the next week, November 1st, 1994 in USA. It was re-released on the Virtual Console for the Wii in 2007, the Nintendo 3DS in 2011, and the Wii U in 2013. And now it was added to the Switch Online service in September of 2018. So we're talking about it here. What did you guys think of the game?
Well, I thought that Demon's Crest inspired Tears of the Kingdom. I think so. I'll put that out.
Okay. Explain.
Well, 6 crests, seven tiers. I'm not sure actually. 6 tiers.
Seven golden stars.
Seven.
Super Mario RPG.
Well, okay, sure. So no, that's the only that's the only joke I wrote down. It was 6 crest dot Tears of the Kingdom question mark. Um, I'm I was really impressed by the depth of this game and just in general so far the depth of some of the Super Nintendo games we've played because not only is it a mix of genres like side scrolling RPG elements, Metroidvania, but it's got grinding, it's got multiple endings which I didn't get to, and secret endings. So
Got layers,
yeah,
which was a big deal at the time.
right, and decent amount of exploration. You have to try different things. You have to go back to different levels. So yeah, I think the biggest impression I had was the amount of depth. While I felt like, at times there could have been more enemies. At times I thought the music could be less repetitive. Um, at times I felt like the flying or gliding felt a bit overpowered, like where you could actually like just glide or fly over things. Um, and I had no, I haven't played any games from the series, so the controls were a bit tricky for me at first to kind of figure out.
So I was
That's funny
surprised
that you mentioned the
because
controls because in the notes here, one of the things I have is Nintendo Power praised the game, noting, quote, excellent graphics, play control, and game balance and sound, which you knocked the soundtrack too. Nintendo Power 94 disagrees.
Sure.
I disagree. I like the music and everything, but having played Super Ghouls and Ghosts, and I think the newest one was called Resurrection, Resurrected. I don't know, the one that's newer that's pretty good, but Demon Crest plays a lot nicer, and I feel like it's more forgiving. So I enjoyed those things, and the fact that it's just easier to navigate. Like if you get a new power, you just go to a start menu, pick it. It's not the Ghouls and Ghosts is very much Mario, where it's like, oh, you picked up a new thing, well the other thing's gone
Mm.
now. So I enjoyed that. I thought the level design was pretty good. The bosses were very good. I only got through like 4 levels and then I got stuck, and I just refused to look anything up. But there was a secret boss in that that like manor you can go to that has all the shops in it.
Yeah.
So there's like a graveyard section to that. And if you go all the way to the end of that, there's a boss, and then you get another power. So I liked all that stuff, and it was kind of cool getting to play as like a bad guy from a game, which is something I
I
kind of
love the
wish they
way the
did more.
game I love the way it like announced itself with that opening area. You see the dragon peeking in
Oh yeah,
through the grate, and then you're just thrown right into a battle with it, and there's like that's what I meant when I said there's layers. Like that was complex for a Super Nintendo game of like the dragon is behind the gate and then he kind of walks around to your side. That's craziness.
that was really exciting to me because I thought the dragon was just going to be something you fought later. So the fact it's the first thing you encounter just made it so much cooler to me.
Hmm.
But no, I really like even the whole opening with the fire and like the reveal of the title. I thought all that stuff was great. So I enjoyed it. There were definitely elements of it I didn't get because I just didn't end up finding stuff. So when you'd go to a shop and they're like, "Oh, you need this," and I was just like, "But you're a shop. You're supposed to sell things. What? I bring you stuff."
Well, this game's got a good reputation as well. I'm looking at some of these accolades I found. In 2018, Complex listed Demon's Crest 59th on their best Super Nintendo games of all time, comparing it to Castlevania. I'm not sure why they didn't compare it to Super Ghouls and Ghosts, because that would be what I'd compare it to. Um, but yeah, they praised the ability to fly and shoot fireballs. In 1995, Total ranked the game 57th on their 100 Super Nintendo games, top 100 Super Nintendo games, saying almost an RPG, but this platformer has more action than you can wave a demonic entity at. And one more here. IGN rated Demon's Crest 44th on its top 100 Super
Wow.
Nintendo games.
Yeah, I'm kind of surprised they've never really done anything else with it.
It is weird that the whole franchise in general, I mean, I know they had a recent one like you just said, but it's it's not a franchise that has 50 games, like,
Yeah.
like it feels like there should be at least, I don't know, maybe 10 of these at this point. But even if you include the Game Boy game and the Super Ghouls and Ghosts and Super Ghosts and Goblins or whatever, they're up to like 6, 7 games, right? Not a lot.
Yeah, there isn't much, but I I don't know. I'm just surprised they didn't do something else afterwards with this because I thought the being a demon and then you're interacting with all the other demons and stuff was really interesting.
I
Like
liked
I
breaking
said,
the statues. That was fun.
yeah,
I
the
love when you
headbutting,
get to break stuff.
yeah,
Yeah.
I liked all that. And again, I
Me
thought
and Limp Bizkit both like when you can break stuff.
you didn't get the chainsaw power up. And again, the boss fights I thought were pretty good and challenging, but not like the boss fights in Super Ghouls and Ghosts are stressful. Like, because if you get the wrong
That whole
item,
game is stressful.
well, yeah, but I mean, you get the wrong item in that game, oof. So I like that that doesn't really ever become an issue.
I,
Yeah, and I love anytime a side-scrolling like platformer gives you RPG elements where you
Yeah.
kind of like level up and make your character stronger. Um, like ActRaiser does
Yep.
that. The Metroid games, obviously. Maybe that's why they compared it to Castlevania because you get
Yeah.
stronger in that, but not so much the Super Nintendo Castlevania. So I don't know.
Hmm.
That's more later with like Symphony of the Night and stuff.
And the overworld I thought was cool because, like, for the time, that was a big deal when you were able to do that. So,
Harrison, you're kind of quiet on
uh,
this one. Did you enjoy the
yeah,
game?
I did. I kind of gave my first impressions at the beginning. I would like to know um, if this game had like sold well or not originally, because when I was
I don't think it
when,
did because I never heard of it back in the day. This was one I think I discovered this on the Nintendo Wii.
when I was doing research for it, I noticed that, and I don't pay attention to retro prices that much, but uh, an actual physical copy of this game is usually like hundreds of dollars, and then if you want one with a case, and it looks like the ones that I saw, it looks like there's imported ones that have like a vertical, like more like of like a VHS case. I don't know, but
oh
but
yeah,
it's usually like a few $100s at least. So I wonder about the rarity of some of these Super Nintendo games, and again, if it just had any kind of revival, because I don't know if it reminded you guys of any indie games you've played, but like I was trying to pinpoint which indie game uh Demon's Crest feels like to me, because there's plenty of like dark Metroidvania, maybe even Souls like type indie games, um, that I wonder if they've been inspired by this
it
series or not.
it might be a reach, but it reminds me a little of Dead Cells,
I can see that.
like the way it's set up, like having the merchants and like just how you go through it.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, I could definitely see that. Um, 'Cause I could see numbers of yeah, of like Metroidvania, Souls likes, roguelikes that could be inspired by by this game. Um, but yeah, I don't pay attention to Super Nintendo prices. I don't know if they fluctuate, but it seems like this one, play it digitally, or you're paying like a few $100s to have a physical copy.
Yeah, because I hadn't really heard about this game till probably the Wii, same time as Kevin, but it's definitely like a game. My brother-in-law, he collects stuff and he has it, and it wasn't cheap, but he's like, it's a great game. Like, so many people slept on it, and so it was great that it came up and I finally get to play it. He's like, oh, what did you think? It's like, I really like it. I want to try and actually beat it. And I'm just wondering, like, because it's a Capcom game on SNES, it's weird that it wouldn't have sold well,
Yeah,
but
it's a
it's also
Capcom
called,
game. It had so many things going for it. It's a Capcom game. It came out in 94, so that's like right, it's not a late release, you know? It's
yeah, it's
not
right in
like
the
it was
middle.
at the end. You're in the golden age of Super Nintendo there. Um And I feel like this was the perfect type of game that I would have rented for a weekend rental. So I don't know why it took me so long to hear about this game. Also, I was a huge fan of Ghouls and Ghosts. I used to rent that all the time. So I don't know. You were saying something else, Sean. I'm sorry I interrupted you, but I just wanted to say,
Oh
like,
no,
yeah,
no,
this
no!
this
It's
game,
just
I don't know why it didn't sell. It had everything going
I
for it.
just don't get it because it's, there's nothing going against it. I
The Catholic
know
Church, maybe.
that's possible, I
Oh,
guess, but
no. There's plenty. There's plenty of hell games. Like we can't even get in. No, we could do a whole pod on that subject. Never mind.
the only thing I can think of maybe is it wasn't clear that it was connected to Super Ghouls and Ghosts.
Yeah, it's when you're playing it, it's very apparent. It's got like almost the same music and like the play style is very similar, but you're right. Like there's nothing from the cover of the game, for example, that
Right.
indicates in any way it's linked to that series. So, where did you rank it on your overall rankings? Let's start with Sean.
So it's number 6 for me. I really liked it. I'm gonna go back and finish it. So it's definitely top 10 game right now out of what we've done.
So that would put it above Super Mario Brothers 2 USA.
It would.
All right, and right below Kirby's Adventure on the NES.
Oh, okay. I'm pretty close on this, and I like the way where this falls. I'm gonna put it number 7. So number 6 right above it would be Game Boy Kirby's Dream Land, and then I'm gonna put Demon's Crest, and then right after that would be Earthworm Jim. So I kind of like where this falls. Different platformers. I mentioned that Earthworm Jim when we reviewed it. I found that although I liked certain parts of it, didn't really feel like a game that you necessarily had to go back to unless you had some sort of nostalgia for it. So
Yeah.
I kind of like putting Demon Crest between that and a Kirby game that, well, I think you could play if you have the online service.
It's funny. It's going further and further down as we each talk, and we didn't intend it because Sean did 6, you did 7th, I put it 8th. I put it right below Kirby's Dream Land, right above baseball on the NES. Number 8.
Yeah. I look at my list, and out of 13, like NES baseball is number 12, and that's just for example, like a game that I would play all the time. It's number 12 because again, it's like an Atari game. So I when I'm looking, it looks like on the bottom I have some like puzzle and sports type games, and I have some platformers. Then I have like NES Open Golf, and then at the very top is like Yoshi's Island, Mario Brothers 2, Link to the Past, Mario Brothers 3. So
Yeah, it's very interesting to see how this is kind of shifting as it goes because with the nature of the service, it's not like, you know, each week it's, well, here's another platformer. It's like it could be any genre.
Well, I
So,
feel like we're never going to catch up too because I feel like every time we do like 2 reviews, they add 5 more
that
games.
that's perfectly
So,
fine. I mean,
yeah.
yeah.
I mean, as I've always said, it's better to have more games. Um,
Yep.
but yeah, I mean, as we go more and more along, like I can't compare Dr. Robotnik's Mean Bean Machine to Link to the Past or something. Like it's just like
Yeah.
um so
Well, I just like doing this because there's a podcast I listen to. I don't think they upload new episodes anymore, but it's called Ultra 64. And they went through the entire Nintendo 64 catalog and they ranked each one as they went. And they had a similar situation where it's like, how do you compare these 2 games? They would like have that all the time. And I don't know, just it's fun.
Do you remember what was the worst one?
I haven't made it all the way through the podcast yet, but I think so far their worst one is the Transformers Transmetals for the Nintendo 64. They said it made them sick and they couldn't continue to play it. Like the visuals just
Wow.
made them ill.
Huh.
So yeah, probably not a very highly ranked game anyway. But obviously they had, Superman,
Yep.
The Adventures of Superman at the bottom there. Thing but it wasn't their worst game. They were like, this is not the worst game on the system. It gets the reputation for it. There's worse out there.
I think games below Superman, you're just like, okay, like not a game you should play. I don't know. Like,
Yeah, at a certain point, it's like, well, this shouldn't have been released. Moving on.
Yeah, I
They should not have allowed people to pay money for this.
I think Superman 64 was the most painful completionist video I've watched. I've watched him do.
That sounds terrible.
It felt pretty self-deprecating to have to 100% that game.
All right, and with that, let's go into the randomizer and see what we're going to be playing next week. Okay, nice. We're going to dive into our first Nintendo 64 game, and it is one that I've actually put that down. It is one that I've been wanting to play for a while. I played it for like 5 minutes when it first went on the service, and I was like, I like this. I hope I have an excuse to play it again. Wasn't released here in America, but they put it onto the service. Sin and Punishment was originally a Japanese-only Nintendo 64 game, but it's got a great reputation. Collectors were importing it for their Nintendo 64 collection for years, so I can't wait to get back into it.
I tried a little of it and it was kind of cool, so yeah, that's great. That's a really good first N64 game.
Is that our first?
So
first
we're not
import game. Is it?
No, actually, I think it is. I was thinking of a game we didn't do yet, so that might be the first import game. It's got to be, yeah. I'm looking at the list. So, one thing I don't like, and I guess I should save this, but I won't. I don't like when I boot up some of those Japanese-only import games on the service there, and they're all in Japanese, and I'm like, I don't even know what I'm selecting here. Why is this here? But anyway, moving on. Anybody else have anything to say?
This game got a sequel, right? Like on the Wii.
This game or
something?
Sin and Punishment?
Sin and Punishment.
Maybe. Sounds like something to talk about next
too
week.
Sinful, too much punishment, too punishable.
That brings us to the end of this episode. So, as always, keep in mind we're Nintendo fans, not Nintendo experts. So, if we messed anything up, we got an email, nintendotherapypod@gmail.com. And we got a Twitter, Nintendo Therapy on Twitter. And we got Reddit. Search Nintendo Therapy on Reddit. Just do it. Okay? Do it. And here is a game over sound effect.